Alrighty, boys and girls, welcome to our 5th video lesson in our first unit, absolute value functions. These. Okay, as we just said, an absolute value function, the graph, when you graph it, it makes a V. So this blue right here, this is an absolute value function, y equals absolute value of x. And the point where our V turns around is called the vertex. Alright folks, I have lots of poems. One of my poems is, when in doubt, make an XY chart. In other words, when you make a graph and you're not sure what the graph is going to look like, you can always make an XY chart. When we make an XY chart of an absolute value function, the first thing you want to do is find where the vertex is going to be. And we're going to do that by setting the absolute value to 0. So we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to say, oh, what's inside the absolute value? It's x plus 3. X plus 3 is equal to 0. I'm going to solve that for x by subtracting 3 from both sides. So I now know that x is equal to -3. So I'm going to put that at the middle of my chart, and I'm going to go a couple of points above and a couple of points below. So I'm going to go -2, -1, -4, and -5. So I'm going to get 5 values for y when I plug in those x's. Go ahead, you guys do that right now, and I'll be right back. Okay, when I plug in -1 for x, I get -1 plus 2 is 2. -1 plus 3 is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2. That's why I have 2 here. When I plug in x as -2, I get -2 plus 3 is 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1. When I plug in -3 plus 3 is 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. When I plug in -4, I get -4 plus 3 is -1. The absolute value of -1 is also 1. And lastly, when I plug in -5 plus 3 is -2. The absolute value of -2 is 2. Let's plot these points. We'll do that in black. So I'm going to plot these points. I got -1, positive 2 right here. -2, comma 1 is right here. -3, comma 0 is right here. -4, comma 1 is right here. And -5, comma 2 is right here. If I connect those points, I have a V whose vertex, we said before, was at -3, comma 0. Now we're going to see how we can graph an absolute value function without making an XY chart. We're going to put the absolute value function in standard form, or what I call AHK form, or vertex form. Y equals A times the absolute value of x minus h plus k. The A tells us whether our V goes up or down. It also tells us the width of the V. It's like the slope. The H is the horizontal shift. The K is the vertical shift, whether it goes up or down. The H tells us how much we go left and right. And H comma K will always be the vertex. This one right here, we have y equals -2 times the absolute value, x minus 3 plus 1. So basically, we're thinking about in AHK form, this is y equals A times the absolute value, x minus h plus k. So, as we look here now, my A is going to be -2. My H is going to be positive 3, and H is always opposite of what it looks because it's x minus h, so H is positive 3, and our K is positive 1. So I'm going to write those in real quick. A is -2, H is 3, and K is 1. So I now know my vertex is at 3 comma 1, which is right here. And because my A is -2, I'm going to go down 2 and over 1 on both sides of my vertex. So down 2 and over 1, down 2 and over 1 the other way. I want to make a V. Down 2 and over 1. My absolute value graph now looks like this upside down V. And if I were to make ordered pairs and make an XY chart, I would get the same coordinates for my graph. Okay, you guys look at this one real quick. The absolute y equals 1/2, the absolute value of x, minus 4. What is the a, what is the h, and what is the k? Fill those in. Okay, you should have gotten a is 1/2. A is 1/2 because that's in front of the absolute value. X minus 0, so our h is 0. If nothing else is with the x inside the absolute value, then h is 0. And then I have a minus 4 at the end, so k is negative 4. When I plot these points, my vertex is going to be at 0, negative 4, which is right here. Oop, I need my marker, sorry. Marker right here at 0, negative 4. And now I have a slope of 1/2, so I'm going to go up 1 and right 2. Up 1 and right 2. Up 1 and right 2. Do the same thing on the other side. Up 1 and left 2. Up 1 and over 2, however you want to think about it. Plot those points, connect my whoosies, and there we go. I have a relatively flat V with vertexes at 0, negative 4. Okay, before we do anything on this one, we need to solve for the y, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, so minus 3, minus 3. And when I do that now, I'll write this up top. I get y is equal to negative 1, if you want to think about it that way, times the absolute value, x minus 3, minus 4. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. All right, you guys go ahead and make your graph. Okay, you should have found that our a is negative 1, our h is positive 3, and our k is negative 4. So we have a vertex at 3, negative 4. Right here. And I have a slope of negative 1 going down with a slope of 1 or negative 1 on each side. And that's your graph. Hey folks, that's it. Short and sweet. We'll see you soon. Have a great night. Bye.